Our next guest was a first-round pick, a former Phoenix Suns GM, then a Cleveland Cavaliers assistant GM during the LeBron years. He was also director of scouting for the San Antonio Spurs, now a broadcaster. His name is Lance Blanks, and let's bring him on the show. Played with the Pistons and T-Wolves. All right, here we go. You got all sorts of stuff. And I know your background, and I know your history, so here we go. So let's start. One of the reasons, Lance, great to have you on the show, that I have defended LeBron, and
Thanks
not
for being
that,
here.
You bet, not to defend LeBron, but I've said he has helped basketball globally. He has helped the Eastern Conference. There's an economic impact with LeBron that Westbrook doesn't have. I said yesterday is LeBron's the human Snapchat, is that he has an IPO and then 50 guys leave and start new companies. He's always paying forward the league. You were in Cleveland when he left. Okay, you were in that front office. Just explain to my audience in the 12 to 18 months after that how everything changed. The world around Cleveland changed when LeBron left.
Yeah, and your point is well made, and I was a beneficiary of that IPO, if you will, being that I was able to go to Phoenix and have an opportunity to be a GM there. So that's the one disclaimer I'll put on your point.
LeBron made Cleveland so well known and so well thought of. You were able to use that to go to Phoenix.
Oh, well, yeah, that's part of the deal, right? Is being known and people being aware of your work and who you are. And speaking more directly to your point, LeBron garners so much attention from the media, Snapchat, Facebook. People are following him from around the world. Money follows him. I think you'd be being very disrespectful if you didn't acknowledge that he brings and garners a lot of money for an organization, for a community, regardless of where he is on the face of earth.
Well, I mean, T-shirt sales, which I guess that revenue is probably shared by the league. But did you notice when LeBron left, your sales went down? Just sweet sales. I mean, just take me to a micro economy of, like, LeBron's there, what happens up? LeBron leaves, what happens down?
Well, Colin, I was there shortly after he left, so I didn't have the experience of an empty arena, if you will, in business. But I did. So when he's there, for example, we went through the process of kind of recruiting him because he allowed all these teams to come see him and visit him instead of going out and visiting them. Well, we're going to his offices, and there are people lining the streets on either side with posters and banners and just saying all these different things to get him to stay in Cleveland. That was economic, because everything in that community, from their perspective, was hinged on him being there.
Right.
Their businesses, to your point, I mean, it's like a show before games. I mean, Dan Gilbert, he built a casino, and I'm certain that casino with LeBron in town versus being gone is two different casinos. And so now you take LeBron, you put him down in South Beach, and I did visit there a few times. The spirit of the community was gone with him leaving there. And I know he felt that too. But not only the spirit, but different businesses go away. As you mentioned, the T-shirt sales, the guys on the corner selling, different vendors selling things around the team. So it's day and night with LeBron there versus being gone from there. He's actually underpaid, in my opinion, by league standards, because there's a cap to what guys can make and so forth. So, I mean, he's everything for that community.
Lance Blanks, former number one pick, a GM for the Suns, assistant GM for the Cavs, director of scouting for the Spurs. I want to touch on the Spurs before I go to LaVar Ball. The Spurs have been called on this show the Patriots of the NBA. There's a certain culture that it's just a head down, low visibility, mostly covert. What's the secret sauce? You were in those rooms. What's the secret sauce to the Spurs?
Well, I think, historically in the ABA, you can debate how good they were or weren't, but For me, my perspective would be David Robinson helped establish an amazing culture. That goes to Tim because, David gets a little older. Now Tim is there. He comes into his own. You have to add Pop into that. Maybe a little known fact, Greg Popovich and R.C. Buford, their GM there now, they were there with Larry Brown in the late 80s. And then when that dissolved, they left. R.C. goes to Florida. Pop goes to Golden State. And then they come back. But that's continuity. I mean, you can't.
Same with New England. It's mostly the same offensive line coaches.
There you go.
Same janitor, maybe not the same ball boys anymore in New England. But so you think it's a continuity thing with the Holt family, Popovich, the scouts. Like, for instance, international scouting's been very kind to the Spurs. Do they outwork people? Are they smarter? Is it the continuity? Why?
I think it's all of it. I think David Robinson may sound random, but I think David and Tim, you need talent. I mean, they would tell you that.
You hit the Powerball twice.
I mean, what are the chances you're going, if someone tells you you will get two of the greatest NBA bigs
and human beings in league history. I mean, literally, Robinson and Duncan are two of the top 5 humans ever, back to back.
What are the chances? You could get a great player, he could be a rotten guy. So you get two amazing human beings. And then you get Pop, who we were talking earlier about coaches. I break it down into 3 categories a lot of times for coaches. You can coach the technical aspects of the game, pass, shoot, dribble, his system, a coach's system, and then the human beings. And a lot of coaches don't know which button to push, when to coach which. Sometimes you may be getting on a guy about how he's shooting his free throws. And he really just needs an arm around the shoulder because he's struggling at home. Well, Pop knows extremely well which one of those buttons to push and win.
Maybe a different one every game.
Correct, to get the result that he and they want. And then the point you were making, the continuity, those 4 things, you put those all together in the aggregate. And now you add really good players through history, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, also amazing human beings. And you get the success that organization has been able to sustain.
So you were a former GM and assistant director of scouting. LaVar Ball hypes up his sons before the draft. Do you think that's going to rub? Would you be reticent to draft a kid because his dad was hyping him up?
It's a factor. I would, sitting in a GM seat, you're evaluating the talent. And so part of that is speed, quickness, mental capacity, ability to grow, family. Is he married? Is there a girlfriend? What are the parents like? What are the parents like? Is it going to make the decision one way or another? I don't know that you're doing a great job if that's the primary thing that you're focused on, because at the end of the day, it's about the talent that you put on the floor. And there have been other parents in the league, regardless of how you evaluate them, that were a big part of players' lives.
Remember when LeBron was coming up in high school? Joy, do you remember this, that the mom bought him a Hummer, like a truck? And it was like, that was a big controversy for like, I don't remember that, no. Okay, so it was and everybody was like, "Oh, whoa, what is going?" It's like, have you watched him play?
Yeah, exactly. And something we used to say in Cleveland, in fact, Danny Ferry, who I worked with there, we talk about you got to be better than your problems or the baggage that you're bringing. And we all have history or baggage. And so a lot of times, even in the example you're giving, is the player better than the baggage or history that he's bringing? And
I think Lonzo Ball is.
It certainly.
So you've watched him, right? You're a former GM. Like I said this about Ben Simmons last year. I said, the NFL, half the players in the league are undrafted. The NBA gives you 2 rounds, and you're out of players by about the 14th pick. Last year's draft didn't give us anything. In fact, Joel Embiid's going to win Rookie of the Year. He was drafted 2 years ago.
Yep.
Played 31 games.
Yep.
When I watched Lonzo Ball, just my takeaway as a media guy is there is a special quality he plays with joy. He's not killing the basketball. Ball's getting moved ahead. Spacing's good. He likes to include others. He's got a community feel. I'm never going to compare anybody to LeBron, Magic, but Ben Simmons had some of that. When I watch Lonzo Ball, I say, oh, guys would want to play with that. Now, I don't like his shots weird looking, but when you watch him, what do you see?
Well, I see a player that is incredibly dynamic. I see a player that seems to love to play, and a guy who has potentially star qualities, star-ish. Now, I would love to be sitting in an interview room with him. I would love to see him competing in a NBA draft workout.
Sure.
I would love to take him through my will of boxes, if you will, that are needed.
Put him in crisis situations.
Absolutely. I would love all of that. But at the end of the day, you got to play the game. And there are some things that maybe for some there could be red flags. But I guarantee you, and I'll not to throw any players under the bus, but Jimmer Fredette, a different type of player.
Sure.
But I remember some teams and some people were just so scared that he would be on the board when they drafted because the hype was so strong.
Oh, the public loved him.
There you go.
So if I'm the Lakers and Lonzo's on the board, I got to take him.
There you go. That's exactly, yeah. So there's a lot of pressure in that you're getting from your fan base, from your potential ownership, or others above you on the org chart. And I think, if it's not clear that Ball's first, second pick, it could be nip and tuck with the pressure to take him maybe higher than you should.
Especially in this 310 area code. Lance Blank's former Suns GM, number 1 pick, played for the Pistons, T-Wolves. Finally, Magic joins the front office. I said about Magic that I felt about John Lynch with the 49ers. I know both. They're both smart. They're both successful. One guy is a Fortune 500 guy, Magic. The other guy went to Stanford and knows John Elway. My concern with both is this is a grown-up job. And you got to be in a tape room. You got to be flying to Budapest as an NBA GM.
Hey, what do you know about Vassell's Majerou?
Yes. I mean, I've talked to GMs who are like, man, this is a 18-hour-a-day, 1 week a year off. What does Magic have to do, Lance? What is the one thing he better figure out if he succeeds?
Yeah, by the way, Colin, that was Hungarian.
Oh, sorry. I'll brush up on that.
Yeah, because I played in Hungary. So, but to your point, I think for the Laker job, part of that job is having been there and having the experience. And what I mean is the culture of LA.
So he gets that.
Correct. And that's a big part of that job.
Okay.
Because, we're talking about Jerry West, Mitch Kupchak. There's a huge legacy in history.
He won't be overwhelmed by that.
No.
But what concerns you?
Okay. Can I make one point about that? Because I don't want to minimize it. You're looking at a guy that worked at Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I was an outsider. I'd never worked in that environment. I never didn't live in Phoenix. And when I went there, that made it as much challenging. I didn't know the roads. I didn't know the people. I didn't know the writers. And so you have to learn all of those things that may seem, it's not a big deal.
It is.
But it is a big, that's right. And it can impact your job because those people and your connectivity to them, they are evaluating you.
Sure.
Fellow employees and otherwise. The guy when you walk in the building, the guy who helps park the cars. That's all part of that job, believe it or not. Okay, so you're right. He gets that. The other technical aspects of the job, to me, for Magic, it's going to be about understanding where his blind spots are. In other words, the ways to get players are through the draft, free agency.
Or trades.
Exactly, and trades. 3 ways to get them. So technically and typically, you don't have enough time in the day to do all of those and all of the other things. So you have to have people on your staff that you trust who can fill in for some of those blind spots. He can't be at Laker games and in Budapest scouting a player. That's impossible. So he's got to have someone who's very good at scouting. with where they are, and I was a little part of that because we traded Nash for a lot of picks. And so strategically, what do you do with some of those picks that are protected or not protected? And or if you have a pick, do you trade it? Strategically, how do you maximize the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement? All of those little nuances are part of that job. And the people he hires, starting with Rob Pelinka, Kobe's agent, are going to impact whether he's successful or not. The first box is extremely important. He has that one checked. Familiarity with the family, the legacy with Dr. Buss, Jeannie, L.A., he gets an A+. The other elements will come down to the people that he puts around him. My sense is he's smart enough to understand that.
It's great meeting you, Lance Blanks. Hope to have you on the show today. Didn't get to half our stuff. We've run out of time. Absolute pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, Colin. I'm a big fan. You do a great job, and thank you for the thought-provoking questions.
Thank you.